Cancer, the moon's in Sagittarius and she wants us to get optimistic because now we can take the wisdom from the Scorpio moon and take it to expand us and grow to new heights there, Cancer. Stick to find out how you can work with these energies. But before we jump into that, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and shares. Your support really is just epic, Cancer. And it uplifting. And it keeps us growing. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and I'm happy Higher Self has brought you here. I'm almost there. My words are getting back on track. You know, Mercury's still kind of just when I'm recording this, Mercury just went direct, so it's fine. We're almost there. But I'm happy Higher Self has brought you here. We're in for an amazing journey. And if you don't know, this is a personal channel for you, Cancer, and for those of you who just love kicking it with Cancer. But it's for those of you who have Cancer in your placement. Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, wherever, Cancer. This one's for you. And I do tarot cards based on our ruler here, the good old Moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, when she's going void. Of course, there's all those lunar shenanigans. Oh, and Cancer, did you get any snapshots of the full moon there? The moon wasn't out when she was at her fullest. I got to see her when she was like almost her fullest in Libra, but then for Scorpio, she just hid away from me. But yeah, that was a whole other thing because we had some things to deal with. But nature, my problem. But yes, if you have some pictures of that, share those with the group, Cancer. Would love to see where you're viewing the moon from. I feel that would always be something that's really exciting. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, when she's going to void. Of course, it's all those lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what resonates with you, leave the rest with me. Never force a reading on a situation, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, I'll get my hourglass started here. Yeah, I think this is just, I had an original plan for that, but now it's turned into a whole thing. It's been used as a prop. It's been used for everything but its intended purpose. It's fascinating. Let's get into it, Cancer. I'm just babbling here. Figured, nice to get a little behind the scenes sometimes. Cancer, your space has been cleansed. At least that's what I tell myself. Oh no, not with the space cleansing, the behind the scenes things. Always cleanse, Cancer. Crystals, feeling lovely. Just great energy all around here, Cancer. And Cancer, happy Venus Day. Venus is associated with Fridays. This is Cancer, I was actually thinking about this. This is really a great day for just tending to your needs, checking out. I feel she deals with our relationships. So this is a great day for doing dates, maybe going out with friends, socializing and things. But Venus deals too with just the relationships with a number of things. This could be your relationship with food, with music, with art, with your environment, with this journey, with spirituality, with your dog. It's a number of things. And I feel that Venus days are really kind of great for just kind of checking in with yourself. How are you feeling? Are things feeling in harmony? Just a time to just kind of tune in and see where things have maybe gotten a little out of balance. Because I was thinking about the word decadent not too long ago, and how I was thinking about, for some reason I was getting a flashback from this really old commercial. Halle Berry was in it, and she's talking about, I just remember the line, "You want to know what makes me feel extremely decadent?" And I always thought I liked the flow of the word, but the actual meaning of it is actually pretty, it's the shadow side of Venus. It's something that is leading to decay. Now it's something that has, it's very kind of devil energy in a sense. I got a real kind of, there's a particular word that I'm looking for that's it's still forming, but I feel that this is a day for looking at where you've been overindulging, but also looking at where you've been underindulging even. I feel like as well, when was the last time that you've allowed yourself some time to take a break? Maybe you've been working for like a week and a half straight and trying to pick up some extra money, where, I get it, having that dough's great, but also having some rest is great too, to appreciate all the dough that you're accumulating. And that's just one example. Or maybe you've been feeling like you've been wanting to just help others, been wanting to get out there, but it's hard to help others when you're working from an empty cup. So I feel Venus, especially where Venus is at for a little while longer. And you know what? This actually going into where Venus is going to go. She'll be entering into her home sign on Monday. So, but where she's at right now in Aries, at this kind of tail end of this energy, I feel this is thinking about ways that you can, kind of tend to yourself. Are you fulfilling your needs? Aries is about the self. It's about I. Who am I? What am I doing? It's me, 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 me. So maybe make this a time for you, Cancer, and doing some things for you there. Something to think about with this Venus day, because Venus is technically in detriment in Aries. So she has to work a lot harder when it comes to thinking about herself as opposed to thinking about others and overgiving. So something to kind of meditate on there, Cancer. And also, Cancer, we are in a waning gibbous moon in Sagittarius today. And I like this energy, Cancer, because I like all the energies, Cancer, let's be real. But, hold on, Cancer. Take care of yourself. But what I feel is really nice about the waning gibbous moon, or this particular phase in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is the energy, whatever Sag goes, there's this optimism, there's this sense of adventure, there's this promise of newness. I always appreciate Sagittarius. I have a lot of people who have some kind of prominent Sagittarius placement around me. It's actually really kind of interesting, but I enjoy them because they do expose me to way different things, like outside of like stuff that I just never had even considered before. And I feel it's like after we get from that real kind of heavy introspective time of Scorpio, some emotions have been brought up. A lot of emotions may have been brought up. A lot of fears may have been faced, or maybe some realizations, maybe some whatever it was. I feel the nice thing about how we can work with this, how we can take whatever came up in Scorpio and channel it into Sagittarius. If you're feeling empowered by what came up, maybe we had some realizations that came through, maybe there were some breakthroughs, we're feeling like there's some sense of direction, then this can be, it's like, where are you taking that empowerment? Now that, because Sagittarius too, being that their guardian is Jupiter, that the luck, the abundance comes from that optimism that, okay, there's a purpose to all of this, that there is, it's the ability to see opportunities. Like, okay, yeah, these feelings kind of sucked in Scorpio, but they showed me where I could become stronger, where I may have let some unconscious things drive me, and now that's not the case anymore. That's no longer resonating with me, and that's a powerful sign to have that level of awareness and to take that. And on the opposite end, if we're feeling kind of defeated from this thing, maybe we're not sure what to do with this, it's just like we just have all this stuff, that can also be an adventure. It may not feel, it can be one that I feel it can be just for example, I had I was talking about how at first the initial start of when the moon entered in Scorpio, it was really nice. I was like in this place where, okay, everything feels fine. I'm fine. Okay, she's gonna pass my Mercury. Everything feels okay. We're okay. And I was just like kind of like, I thought like there would be more to it. And I was just like, okay, this is all right. And then the following day, came through, and then that's when the shoe dropped. And I got everything I expected. But I even got some things that I hadn't expected. It was something where I kind of got in it. Instead of ascending, I was spiraling. And it was a lot, so it was one of those things where it's like you have those emotions and then you notice like old patterns and what in the gift for me is how I'm taking this into Sagittarius was that these old sort of escape tendencies that I have when kind of tougher emotions come up and I don't want to deal with stuff. I was it's gotten us to this place where I got eyes on. It's like, oh, I'm doing this thing because there's clearly something that is bothering me. That I am feeling this stuff. And then what I like about Sagittarius and what ended up happening was when, because it had been it had been a bit of a struggle. But what ended up happening was I was just using, kind of working with when you work with the planets in the sense, it's like we're in Taurus season right now. And I was just thinking about how I was going for a walk. It was kind of feeling kind of down. It was raining. But I was looking at nature and just looking at how these flowers, all the flowers I had noticed have been just so vibrant. And I'm just like, look at them. They're still showing up and showing out, and it's pouring outside. And they're just like, look at me. Look at how amazing I am. It doesn't matter what the season is. And that even something about that was just a little uplifting. Just little things like little tools and little tips like that. It's like, and another thing too, I would say, ways that you can feel like you can expand. But it's with this waning gibbous in Sagittarius, I feel in order to expand, there are certain beliefs that you have to let go. Certain, Jupiter deals with, faith and how it can be with our belief system. And Sagittarius sometimes can be, in a shadow side, the know-it-all, the one that won't open their mind to new opportunities because they've seen it all. There's nothing that they've allowed the wonder to dissipate, and not to, so that's something too, I feel like can be a healthy way of working with this. We let go of these sort of tendencies and even can use these maybe kind of tougher emotions or situations as a reminder of like, oh, okay, this is happening because something is out of alignment for me. I've gotten off my path, and this is how the universe has showed me what I've needed in order to get to where I want to go next. And that was something too that I've even been kind of thinking about for me personally, the idea of what I need compared to what I want. Because I'll say I need something, and then when I finally kind of had a moment to, because I actually was listening to someone who has their sun in Sagittarius that really kind of helped. It brought the optimism back. It lit my Jupiter placement up, or where my Jupiter placement is, and just it was really nice. But sometimes I'll see what I need, and I have all the things that I need, all the tools, the people, like the support to do the thing. But it's like what I want, how I want to get there is not how that's gonna work. And so it's getting my needs and my wants in alignment and recognizing the difference between the two. That sometimes what I want isn't necessarily what I need, and even understanding and with that newfound knowledge, where do you grow from? So, and it's all, I feel, with the fire signs, it's all a matter of perspective. What do we believe? It's like, what is our reality? Because I feel like it's something too to remember with these, going through this transition from Scorpio to Sagittarius. It's like, it's not to diminish what you felt isn't real is what's going on, but it's just like, how can you, in how you've transformed, because whatever Scorpio brings up changes things permanently. There's no going back from that. There's only going forward or just staying stuck in it, but there eventually motion will happen, whether we run for it or crawl for it. I feel that this moon in Sagittarius, and it promises the idea of growth, of expansion. And as we're getting into these kind of, getting into these other, through this transition, and one thing too, Cancer, one last kind of thought on this. You've noticed, if you've ever been in that kind of like negative space, if we want to stay in that space, we can find ways to stay in that. It's hard. And actually, it's kind of hard to stay in the negative space too, to kind of search for these different ways to be angry. I was even thinking about that. I had a spiral, and after I was able to kind of work it out and kind of talk it out and like process it with another person, I had a Virgo who has a bunch of stuff in the 7th house. So really, it was really fantastic with people and really fantastic with my kind of a, but after a while, I even kind of lost energy for that. And I had gotten to the place where it's like, listen, I know I'm making excuses, but this is just where my reality is at. It's in a realm of excuses and delusions. And it's just like, how do I get out of that? And thankfully, there have been some things that have come up, and it's just, but sometimes you have to sit in that energy and just see where higher self is guiding you, having faith, this Sagittarius energy, that you can grow from this and that you can raise your consciousness and that there is this wisdom that comes with Sagittarius as well. But I feel like in order to make space for that wisdom, there are things that we need to let go in this waning gibbous as we get closer to this new moon and getting closer even to the last quarter moon. And that's where some things where we face some challenges. We know we need to let go of some things, but now it's, when you think of like the waxing and the waning phases, the waxing is you putting yourself out there against the world. This is you're that outwardly expression. And then when we get to the waning phases, this is where the outside is imparting on you, and you're understanding how that pushback, that interaction is integrated, that opposition. So, but overall, Cancer, I do feel that this is one that it is keeping that hope, because I do feel very optimistic that this has been, even if it has been one that's been particularly intense, Cancer, that this has been a very ripe ground that we're starting on this astrological year, and this is the first step in something greater here, especially when I was looking at just kind of forecasting a little bit. I really like the Sabian symbol for this next new moon that we're going to get to, especially in Taurus. So, and Jupiter, Big Papa's in Taurus right now, still for a little while longer. So this is, again, some time for taking this lessons and letting some substantial long-standing growth kind of push you through this here, Cancer. And if you're curious about how these energies are working in your chart more personally, check out a book of reading with me there, Cancer. I have links down in the description box below and also on my Instagram page. This has been one, like, for example, where this full moon happened, I had been mentioning that this was forming a square with my Saturn, and it was forming it was exact everything. It was my Saturn and on pretty much lined up with my IC in midheaven. And this has been something that I've been really kind of working with since Uranus has been in Taurus, and now Big Papa having been here over this last year. As far as like anytime there's Taurus stuff going on, that's going through from the tail end of my 9th house into the 10th house. And so it's thinking about who I am, how I am being presented to the public, and how people are seeing me. And my moon placement is natally there, so that means a lot to me. And I have a lot of feelings, and I think a lot about that kind of all the time. And it's been something that I've been feeling a lot of tension with, and a lot of feelings had came up during this full moon. But it has been one where, again, it may not always be the answers that you want, but I can appreciate that it is what I need. But it's like, how do I work with what I've been given, And there has been some really cool things that have been coming from that. I've been very grateful with the people that I've run into in the groups that I've been getting involved in. And it's been baby steps for sure, But it is something, even just I was thinking about my person, like where Pluto's at right now. We got a lot of Pluto stuff for some of us, especially in the Scorpio. If you got Scorpio placements, Aquarius placements, fixed sign energy that's forming some tense stuff with you, or some conjunctions there's going on. But Pluto's been talking to my moon placement since last year. There's been a lot of stuff where, even though it's a trine, things have been changing, and the energies have been flowing differently. My emotional energy has been flowing differently. There's been a lot I've had to work with, and this can maybe help explain maybe some of the transitions. Maybe you're going through some sort of Pluto transit. Maybe your Pluto is conjuncting some of your Aquarius placements. Maybe you're part of like myself, the Pluto and Scorpio generation. We're getting ready to have that Pluto square that's getting ready to go on, and I feel like that's going to be something very empowering. I feel like that's going to get us out there, because I feel like our generation is meant to bring about, Pluto in its home, in its natal placement. That was, that our higher selves were really thinking about a lot about that when they did that. So it's it's fascinating when you get in, because I feel what I like to think about astrology too, it's to ask questions. It's to, Jamie and I actually were talking about this. We did a live not too long ago. Both her and I have Leo risings, and if you haven't checked out her channel, she has the ears of wisdoms and the lips of understanding. Great channels. One of them is a Cancer exclusive channel, and she goes over mental health topics and other things as well. Really, just really great. Has a book club, great energy. But we were talking about our Leo risings, and both of us having our sun sign in Cancer. Even for myself, where yes, I have like a stack of Leo. Leo is a choice. Sometimes you don't want to be in that see me energy all the time. It's something that you have to work into. Just because you have it, that doesn't mean every Leo is gregarious. Is one that some Leos are bookworms. Some Leo, my stepfather until here recently, he has as much Leo as I do. He's Leo Sun, Gemini Moon, Leo Rising. And the first half of my life, or a good chunk of my life, I always knew him as a huge stoic. Someone that kept to himself. And then after he retired and got more in that playful, childlike energy, completely shifted. He's like, it's definitely more talkative. So it's amazing how that stuff can work, and even how you interact with people is very differently. It can be really, really, really beneficial, and really can just help you feel like that the stuff is not so random all the time. That you go with the ebbs and flow a lot smoother. So if that's something that's resonating with you, again, yeah, check and feel free to, post down in the description box below. I always love answering questions about if you have any sort of like little natal questions and things. I can't get to all of them, of course, but I try to get to them as much as I can. But yeah, please, if you have any questions about like specific transits that are going on, and happy to know your degrees and things, I love answering those questions. So yeah, please feel free to do that. But I think that's all the housekeeping I got there for you, Cancer. So let's go ahead and get into this thing, Cancer. Absolutely, I love this. It's Empress energy, but you got the Aspen Spirit card. Look at you, look at it. Of course, the Empress is chilling in Aspen, but you have the Aspen Spirit here, Cancer, which is the Courage card. And I mentioned Empress because it's the number 3 energy here. And the Empress energy is abundance. But I feel that, again, that Scorpio energy reveals our fears and where we may have been repressing our needs, our desires. And I feel it's when in Sagittarius, it's that question of, I feel like the moon's not saying, do you have the courage to pursue this thing? It's more so of when she's in that energy, it's just like, hey, you do have the courage, especially in the waning gibbous phase. It's changing that narrative. It's letting go of those beliefs. I feel it's okay to have, human moments. That's the whole point of this experience, to feel these things, to have moments where, sometimes there can, in order for there to be courage, there is something that we need to be afraid of, or there is a challenge, something that we need to be over, that's not necessarily, the fears aren't meant to keep us down. It's when you work with it in a different way, or form this relationship in a different way, it's something that builds you up. There are some days, Kansas, especially when I had this sort of spiral here, I was feeling disconnected from what I was doing, but at the same time, I was having troubles even getting the energy to get to it. But then it's like, I was like, okay, what part of that is what's personally going on? Is this really something that's seeping into this? Then you start to, but you have to have the courage to challenge those beliefs, I feel. Even when stuff like that, things that question your abundance, I feel like though, and even especially yourself, Cancer, I feel like it's easier to tell someone else to F off when they're trying to tell you what you don't or don't have. But when we get in that 5 of Pentacles energy, how, that kind of lack sense, we can be afraid of that inner narrative, that inner bully, that tells you that you're not this, that you can't do that why bother, but I feel like in a way it's become this sort of like twisted twisted safety mechanism, because in a way it's that the energies want to keep you safe, because in being courageous, in pursuing these fears, you're going to make mistakes. There are going to be times where we might get hurt, maybe physically, heaven forbid physically, but even heaven forbid emotionally, maybe even spiritually, but then we grow from that. We don't let that fracture or let that be where that's defined us, because if we wake up again, that's another opportunity to take what has happened and to grow from it, and it looks differently for everyone. So I really like this. I feel like this is nice with where, again, with Venus getting ready to move into Taurus, this is building on a new foundation. Let's get some tarot on this, Cancer. I like that Cancer person coming up here. Change. Jupiter energy. I'm with it. Yeah. All right, Cancer. Think of yourself. Let's see what's going on here. And there's Sag. We got a lot going on here, Cancer. Ooh, I'm with it. So you have Sag here, the Temperance card or the Art card in this deck. They're opposite sign, which is interesting. Gemini, the Lovers. And then you have the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Wands, the Queen of Cups, the Two of Discs, the Eight of Discs, the Nine of Discs, and the Nine of Wands here, Cancer. Got a lot to work through here, but I like this. Because this is, and you know what, Cancer? We do have a lot to work here. And that all starts with the choice. With the Lover's energy, this is a reminder of that free will. These things that come up, you've been working with the astrology even before you were born, and even before it may have come into your awareness. But when I feel with this energy here, it's a understanding that we do have choices in this, that life doesn't, there are situations that do happen, but it's happening for us, not to us. But I feel it's that matter of perspective that makes sense. And it's the courage to acknowledge that life is, we're not just, we just don't come into this experience just to fail, just for things to, especially when you get in those feelings where we are in a challenge, where things feel out of balance, where we feel like we've been working really hard, or where we feel like Knight of Wands, Eight of Pentacles, like things have been kind of draining you as of late here, Cancer. And I feel like it's remembering, and it's all a matter of perspective. I got this tattoo right at a very pivotal time in my journey. I had gotten kicked out of the house. It was a whole thing. I wasn't sure what I was. Honestly, that whole time was a blur. Somehow I managed to get a job. A relationship with a friend changed. That was a whole experience. But when I look back on this, and every time I look at this tattoo, I feel like even then it's like higher self has been like, it was important, because it didn't make sense really when I think about it in that I know where my head was at when I got it. I was looking to make a point, but in the grand scheme of things, I did end up making a point, but in just not the way I needed it to, not the way that I wanted it to. But ultimately, Cancer, what I'm really getting with this energy here, that it takes a lot of work, a lot of that individual work to build up that courage. It takes a lot of introspective work, Queen of Cups, a lot of emotional work when we're trying to find this courage to initiate this change. But I do feel like it is with the Two of Discs, understanding that you can change, but it is a choice, Cancer. The Temperance card, Sagittarius energy, is that opposing energies. There could be that side of you that is bringing you down, but there's also that side of you that is like, no, this doesn't have to be the way. And it's just like, how can those two go from being enemies and to more so being like mitigators, where it's like the negative side, it's like, and not even the negative side, it's just like, hey, this is showing your fears, your weaknesses, some areas where we can improve. And then the higher side is like, okay, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. I can, let's do this. It's like, how do we get both of those opposing energies cooking? Get into where they're not just this separate entity anymore. Now there's something that are, the art card is integration, especially in this deck. You see all these opposing forces working together. Even you see how the eagle and the lion in this deck, because in this deck the lovers is the alchemical marriage and the art card is the honeymoon. And so I feel, Cancer, in your growth, in your journey, as you're finding the energy to make these decisions, and I feel like that's an important thing too, Cancer, because I feel like when we're feeling in a low, or we're feeling in like a depression, no one wants to, I feel like, necessarily stay like that. When I feel like people are just like, oh, get over it. It's not like, well, like, duh. Thanks. But it's more so, it's a, how do you get out of your own way? I feel like it's seeing the things that you attract when you are feeling low. And I feel like it's like, and like really consciously, what can I do to replace this? What can I do to integrate? Or what new thing can I do to integrate this thing in, to phase this thing out? Because it's shown me that something is wrong. Like I was saying with like how I have, escapism is something that I've struggled with growing up. I have Neptune and my sun are in a tight opposition, and my sun's in the 12th house, Neptune's in the 6th house. Neptune's operating in a very interesting, I have to work harder to tap into my Neptune stuff. It's been something where she's in the 6th house, so I've had to make it a daily type of practice. But I've used that where I can recognize those escapist tendencies, and it's just like, okay, how do I, and okay, I clearly need something else. And at the time I needed something more uplifting. And I've been looking at a podcast for a little while, and it had been kind of, something had been drawing me to it, but I never quite followed through. And just one day I followed through. And I'm glad I did. It was exactly the kind of medicine that what I needed to hear. And that's where I feel the courage. Courage, I feel, can be so inflated. It can be like you got to do this momentous thing. Sometimes it's just deciding to get out of bed. Sometimes it can be just deciding to get outside, interact with people. Even just taking the time to be bothered with yourself. Sometimes that takes courage. Queen of Cups recognizes that. I feel the Queen of Cups too, she's created a very safe space in this card. I love this card. It's a very tranquil Queen of Cups. But she's created this space where she can get in balance. And I feel like the Queen of Cups is always this card of this ultimate compassion and the abilities that come through with this compassion there, Cancer. Because I'll tell you something too, in what I've been, personally, what I've been going through, I've even been, because, I'd always I'd sort of considered like, the whole idea of like an empath and things, but that's something that really, someone had said that to me, and that hit in a different type, and it's someone that I didn't expect to say that to me, and so that's why it hit in a different type of way, and it got me thinking about how, if I can pull, the thing I feel sometimes with, and I'm, again, take this as a result, we're gonna move on, Cancer, but I feel that where you can pull negative energies, you can pull things that may bring you down, you can also pull in things that can bring you up. And it's what you surround yourself with, I feel, when you're in those moments that really matter. What are some healthy go-tos? Okay, this isn't, okay, like, let's say, even just the other day, I had someone was going through something, I was going doing something with someone, and I was just like, you know what? How about we go outside? You know, let's try doing this. You know, and then okay, how does this help? I was like, okay, that does help a little bit. Even just getting out, so just kind of break up the energy. It may not have solved anything, but it says at least you've kind of broken the spiral. So now the ascension can start. I saw this cool picture on Instagram where it's like the ego, it was saying we spiral, but then the higher self, we ascend. And it's just like, how do you break that spiral so that you can keep walking up, you know, so that you don't get stuck on a certain floor. It's very interesting, and it takes a lot of strength, Cancer. You know, now, again, and what I wanted to say too with this, it's the moon in Sagittarius here, the Nine of Wands. And so I feel like I feel like it's very appropriate that this is a card of strength, because it takes a lot of strength to be courageous. And again, courage looks different on everyone, but I feel it's working with your energies in a different way. Instead of working against yourself, finding more ways to work with yourself. And even with these kind of, when you get into like spiral moments, or whatever that's looking like for you, Cancer. And I love this too, Nine of Pentacles. We're working towards our pre-Empress energy. We're getting in the routine of self-care, being an Empress. It's Venus and Virgo here, but let's get a little bit more on this, Cancer. Think you got yourself. All right, Cancer. So you have the Five of Wands, the Seven of Wands, the Princess of Swords, the Three of Discs, the Six of Discs, the Five of Cups, and the Eon card here, Cancer. And you know, Cancer, with the Eon card, this is Pluto energy. And Pluto really kind of delights in us facing our fears and revels in the dark things, you know, the all those things that we may deem as undesirable at first, but it's those dark things that give us new gifts. I remember like way starting my early, started doing like meditation and things. I remember I was just sharing this with a friend. I was listening to this guided meditation that was talking all about death. And it was like, imagine your friends dying, and then imagine your parents, and then your spouse, and then yourself. And I had a massive breakdown, and I stopped meditating for a while. And what I bring that up to say was because where my perspective was at was all that put me in a place where I just spiraled, and I didn't know how to handle that. You know, there was a lot that I was taking on, and I wasn't quite ready for that rebirth yet. It was Pluto. Pluto's like herd, you know, but I had in that, it sparked up some inner conflicts. It showed me some things to work on, and it has been a very long process. But now, when I think about that story very differently now, it's given this idea of it's given me to show up for my relationships a bit more presently. It's like, where do I want to invest? You know, where do I see? And that's where energy is asking you to, the Six of Pentacles here, the Six of Discs. You know, I feel life wants your success, Cancer. You know, universe wants you to thrive. Higher self wants you to thrive. And I feel the Three of Discs is a card of collaboration. I feel like it's collaborating, or a collaboration with this Five of Cups energy, with that kind of like those disappointments, those times where those tougher energies, those fears, you know. Maybe you're afraid maybe you have like this stage fright. You want to go be maybe a speaker, but then, you know, the thought of speaking to people does this. It's like, maybe we're taking a class, for example, or, you know, and I'm not saying we're just throwing ourselves into our fears here, but I do feel like there is it's learning to work with them a little bit, having the courage to work with them a little bit more, to see them as natural progressions of life and not to criticize them. It's not, in this Cancer, it's not going to be something I feel like that is perfect. You know, like in a dream world, that idea is fantastic, but look at the Princess of Swords. The Princess are the pages in this deck, and the pages are the Page of Swords, where it's like a cool idea. There's a lot of chaos going in this card here, because it's not always that, again, like I was saying, rebirth and change, the eon is not that easy, but it can bring a lot of power to you. And power is, and I feel like there's this redefinition of power, because Pluto rules, or Pluto is the guardian of a water sign. You know, Pluto's emotional energy when you really think about it. Granted, sure, it's Scorpio, but Scorpio's really not, yes, there's this, Scorpio really is a very loving energy, because there is that when you're not looking for all of the bad things, then you see the good in them. And it's not like they ignore the bad. There's an acceptance that comes with that, because then you show up in life differently. You know, the disappointments, they just are disappointments. Like, yeah, okay, but you know what? That taught me how to use my energy differently next time going around. And yeah, the Seven of Swords here, I feel like there's something about just being mindful about how we criticize ourselves, even our own level of courage, and maybe even your relationship with that word. What does that idea bring up for you? How do you feel? What does you being courageous look like? And I feel here too with the Six of Disc, just one more thing, that sometimes, and this person that I was listening to, actually, they were saying it's just like the human nature to, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was something about the human nature of, to kind of like be able to just like find the negative very easily, or that wasn't quite it. But where I'm trying to go with this is that I feel like a lot of people, I've heard this kind of blanket statement where it's just like, oh, that's just human. It's just human. It's like, well, how can we redefine that relationship with being human? Like, where we can, again, I'm a fan of absolutely acknowledging the darkness, but it's just like, what are we going to do with that to bring us up? Because when we just come, and then it's sitting with that, you know. And then listen, that's maybe I have a lot of Leo in my chart. Jupiter's conjunct my ascendant, so like, but it's not to say that I can't get down, because again, all that is tied to a very emotional sun in the 12th house in Cancer. So, you know, it's not, but I feel like it's just like, how do we change that narrative a little bit? How do we go as a rebirth, as a, not just individually, but as a collective, as a soul tribe as well, to picture ourselves like, yes, okay, what if I fail? But what if I take those failures and turn them into success? What if something like really amazing, what if I really get great at this and able to share this knowledge with others? And then what if they pass that around? You know, like those kind of things there, Cancer. So love this, how we're growing on Jupiter Day. But let's get some advice from Big Papa. And that's why I feel Jupiter and Gemini could be a very beneficial way to spread around more energies of optimism. Jupiter's going to be conjunct my moon here soon when he first enters into Gemini, and I love that. And that's how I plan on working with that energy, to spread more optimism. I'm going to be all up in my Jupiter placement this next year. And granted, I'm getting ready to come up on a Jupiter return here in a couple of years. But oh, here's wifey. Hold on here, Cancer. All right, last little bit here. Take care of yourself. Oh, what's good? So Cancer, we have our lovely guardian, the priestess, the moon here. And then you have the Queen of Swords and then the Eight of Cups. Now let's switch back over. Because you know, Cancer, what's interesting here with this Queen of Swords, I've not looked at her like this before. You know, when I'm looking at this head here that she's holding, this Queen of Swords, all the Queen of Swords, she can be a hard ass sometimes. But I'm looking at this head that she's holding here, and I feel like this is a mask of a former identity, someone where she's risen above. She's on a throne of clouds here, and I love that there's this child here that's kind of floating up above her, and it's like on this kind of really ornate sort of crown that she has, and I feel like that's her rising. Like, it's almost like she's working with her inner child in a sense. She's risen above these kind of like ego needs, but she's taken that with her. You know, that she's seeing that as, I almost feel like she's utilizing that as a trophy in a sense. Like, she's like almost, or like paying homage to that old part of her. You know, it's not that she's clinging on that, but I do feel like she's walked away from something. There is this understanding with the clarity that comes with the Queen of Swords, that the Eight of Cups is a card of indolence, and I feel like there's something here where it's like something may have been taking slowly, or you may have been moving through something slow because you need to. And I feel like that's, sometimes we can want to rush through kind of all of the things, go through the growth so fast, but I feel Pluto is a reminder that, especially that type of emotional healing, is something that takes time. Pluto, as we have right now, is, you know, the slowly moving celestial body, and he's getting ready to go retrograde here soon, you know, and I feel like there's going to be, and I feel like this is a very well-timed place for Pluto to go retrograde, because with all this big energy that's happened, I do feel we need a minute to kind of process this and integrate what that means intuitively, what's going on there. Because I do feel, I'm listening to just like how different conversations are going. You know, it's intuitively something is shifting. We are going through a, just collectively. And I do feel that there is, I feel like Cancer, even when you're in those spirals, I feel the High Priestess here is reminding you that there is, deep down, I feel there's a part of you that knows that you can figure this out, that you do have the courage to face this, whatever comes your way, because life is going to happen regardless, but that perspective is it happening to me or is it happening for me? And if we're not sure how it's happening, but it's asking that, how is this happening for me right now? What are the actual things that this is helping me? Or is this just a real, just kind of, just, my language, shit sandwich? You know, like, but then it allows you to get outside of yourself when you ask those questions. Because when it's all in here, everything's real. Everything is real, everything's exaggerated, and everything is... So it's to help, I feel... Something here I feel like about getting this out too. The Queen of Swords, she's doing a lot here. She's and then no, she's not. She's proud in what she's doing. She's topless on the clouds, and I like that because I feel like she's being, there's this confidence in what she's doing. There's not this fear of judgment in front of herself. You know, like she's looking. I feel like it's like there's a statement here in like her being who she is and being beautiful while she does it, and being empowered while she does it, finding this courage to work with her old fears. You know, again, she brought that head with her. It's very interesting what I'm getting with the Queen of Swords here. But I do feel like she's brought her sword with it too, because she is in control as well. You know, she sees this. It's interesting, but there's this But I think I'm going to leave this there, Cancer. I can get into that, but I see I'm... But if you like that, Cancer, or if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this, Cancer, if you know someone who's been struggling with this, you know, courage, because it can be. This journey can be kind of tough, and... You know, I feel like it's defining what courage looks like for you. You know, and that's why I feel like it's always something personal when we're, yes, there are, again, there are transits that are happening, you know, that are happening collectively, but you have to take what's resonating with you. Maybe you're not feeling this big stuff here. Maybe you're feeling a lot of fear. Maybe you're feeling a lot of self-doubt. And it's just like, how do we find the courage? And that's where I feel it's, how do you want to look at this energy? Do you want, I feel like all together we can look at it as something that is propelling us, but I feel like it's something where it's either I'm knowing this is propelling me or I'm going to find out how this, and I want to find out how this is propelling me. So, but then subscribe there, High Priestess. Hit that bell button, get notified on all these videos each week. And then Cancer, yeah, after you get done checking your chart there, we can, if you come over to my other channel, Alchemist Date. I do weekly videos there. I'm thinking about changing it to, oh, what was I going to call? Celestial Forecast. I was just talking about, I think I may shift the title on that here. Stay tuned for that there, Cancer. But I talk about the astrological weather that's going to be going on, the transits that are happening for us collectively, and where to look at in these, for these placements in your chart personally. So that's something that you want to check out. It's on my other channel, Alchemist Date, and all that information is down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise cards here, Cancer. Interesting. So I can get you out of here, Cancer. You got the Prince of Cups here. And I feel like he's been kind of following us around a little bit here, Cancer. And I feel the Prince of Cups is Scorpio energy for me. And I feel this Prince of Cups has a lot of courage within. But sometimes I feel that maybe that what can maybe come up is that maybe when I'm feeling Cancer, it's like for some, maybe there's this feeling, you have this grand view maybe of yourself, but it's like internally it's so big, but it's like externally, like, how do I achieve that? You know, maybe it's like maybe your higher self is coming across overwhelming, maybe, is what I'm getting with this Prince of Cups. And I feel, I feel like if you're feeling a lot of emotions, maybe with when it comes to whatever this may be coming up, whatever courage that we're trying to summon up for here to face, I feel like it's keeping the big, and I'll get your oracle card here. I feel like there's this, keeping the big picture in mind. Oh, I like that, Cancer. Oh, okay, we're keeping both cards here, but it's keeping that energy in mind, but it's just like, how can you break that in micro chunks? You know, and it could be just one thing at a time today. You know, I actually was kind of thinking with, I have, you know, this list that I do. I'm even thinking about kind of condensing it a little bit, just so that I can, in chunks that I can handle, you know. I like the idea of, let me, oh, hold on, Cancer. I like this. Let's get into your other cards here so I can, yeah, we'll get you wrapped up here. But you have the Otter Spirit here, which is a card of You're Never Alone. And I really love that, Cancer. And then you got one of the ancient cards I like to call in this deck. You got that Whale Spirit here, Cancer. And it is, oh, and I like that too that it came up with this. It's Trust the Great Mystery. Because I feel like that's a really beautiful message here from Higher Self, Cancer, because you are never alone. You know, the universe has got your back, and it is learning to not just trust in the mystery, but I feel like trust in yourself, because there's this galaxy inside of you that's wanting to that's already manifested, but now it's like, how do you take it to this next level? You know, there's this, you know, your birth chart is like this, your natal chart is like this galactic thumbprint. You know, there's this, and it's only you alone can make that energy manifest, but you're not doing it alone. You know, you're doing it with Source, and we're all in this collaborative experience too. You know, we're all trying to do this thing together, trying to understand this great mystery together. So there's even that deepness that comes with this, and I feel like it's trying to find that collective courage, you know, to face our dreams and to face our fears and to come into our dreams, whatever that looks like. So Yeah, hopefully that made sense, Cancer. I think I'm going to leave that there. Stay mindful out there, Cancer. Keep your awareness about you. Keep eyes on the moon there, Cancer. And enjoy your weekend, Cancer. Enjoy this lovely, lovely Saturn day and Sunday. And I will catch you on the next one, Moon Day. Oh, hold on, Cancer switched over.